Hello, I'm Casey Aiken, and this is 21 This Week. Coming up next, are the midterm elections all about Donald Trump? The final countdown to elections, we cover the important races and ballot initiatives. And while you weren't looking, the term-limited county council wants to redefine who an employer is in the minimum wage law, and there's another ban on outdoor smoking. Our panel of insiders will give you the story behind the story. We're joined by business strategist and consultant Rich Parsons, Maryland Young Republican National Committeeman Evan Young, and Maryland Republican National Committee woman Nicolee Ambrose. Wrapping up the panel is political strategist Susan Heltemes. Stay tuned for these stories and more on the next 21 This Week. After 6 days of early voting, Bethesda Beat magazine reports that a little more than 14% of Montgomery County's registered voters have cast their ballots, or approximately 113,000 people. While the number on first inspection sounds impressive, it doesn't come close to the 162,000 voters who cast early voting ballots in 2016, but it far surpasses the 35,000 voters in 2014. Nicolee, there is a presumption formed when early voting was first initiated that early voting favors Democrats over Republicans. What do you make of the turnout so far, and have Republicans adjusted to getting out their base?
So, for starters, Maryland is a different animal. We are not operating like the rest of the country. We have a Republican governor with a 76% job approval rating. In our state, is 2 Democrats for every 1 Republican. So both the Democrats and the Republicans thus far in early voting have done a great job of getting their base out to vote. The question certainly will be, hopefully, how much Governor Hogan wins by. Is it double digits or is it single digits? On the national level, we've got a different story. We've got, of the 8 kind of key swing states, Republicans are really outperforming in 7 of those 8 states.
Well, we'll keep our focus right here for the time being. Susan, looking at the Montgomery County results from 2014 race, Governor Hogan received approximately 37% of the county vote. And given Governor Hogan's popularity, will he do better or worse this year?
I think he's going to do worse. And I just have a little bit of an update for you. Today, I had lunch with Jim Shalik, and we also talked to the person at the Board of Elections.
And Jim Shalik is who, Susan? For
Jim Shalik is the Republican president of the Board of Elections, and we chatted with Margaret Jurgensen, the director of the the Elections Board. 1,313 ballots were cast, 81,387 were Dems, 14,518 Republicans, and this is most interesting, 16,431. She also told us.
So how does that relate? We're getting lost in the weeds. How does that relate to Governor Hogan, and whether or not Ben Jealous is going to be able to overcome him?
It is going to be tough, but Hogan is going to get less votes from Montgomery County. And I just want to add, 444,635 absentee ballots were requested. 15,437 were back on the 30th. 7 more trays.
Rich, how do you measure voter engagement in this midterm election?
Let's break down the numbers.
Are you concerned that the blue wave is going to be a blue ripple?
No, I'm actually not
Come
at
on,
all.
I love that line.
Well, I know, it's a great line, but if you look at the numbers that Susan was just quoting and you break them down as of yesterday, and there's probably little change from today.
All of it.
The things that jump out is Democratic early voting is way up. Republican early voting is down slightly as a percentage of, let me phrase it this way. If you look at the breakdown of the people who have early voted, the total of which is way up, the share that it's Democratic is a little bit higher than last time around. The Republican share is a little bit lower than last time around.
And don't forget the independents.
And the independent is remarkably higher than last time around. So what you're seeing, they're all up. But the question of how much up, there seems to be more energy on the Democratic side here in Montgomery County. Now, how that translates into the gubernatorial race is anybody's question because of the way that race is shaping up. But the Democratic energy here is certainly coming through, and I think you are going to see a blue wave here in Montgomery County, here in Maryland, and across the country. The question is how much.
I want to ask Evan this question, because we have the one voting block that we haven't talked about is the millennials. And a new poll from Hives, The Skim, and SurveyMonkey suggests that they are disenchanted with the political process, and maybe only 31% of them will actually vote.
Yeah, you can probably tell by lots of my parting shots, I have a lot of issues with people my age. I feel like just a complete different animal than most of them. But my problem really lies, and I've seen this for 2 years. It wasn't just in this election, it was also in 2016, a disconnect between being really angry about stuff and actually doing something about it. I've seen a lot of people I know that could post on social media every day. They hate Trump, they hate this, they hate that. Everyone go out and do something about it. But then as soon as they get off the internet, they go to brunch instead of going out and door knocking or doing anything active in politics. So the numbers of the surveys we saw said about 60% aren't even familiar with the candidates running in their area. So I'm not sure how you can say these people aren't out to represent me or I'm over the whole process when you haven't even taken the time to look into who's running.
All right, well, so now that we've looked at the general state of the electorate, we got to go real quickly around the horn here to see which races are you most interested in. Susan, we'll start with you.
I think that the most interesting race in Montgomery County is going to be the executive race. There's no other. It's going to be the exec race.
All right, Rich.
I agree. You've got a great race shaping up, a three-way race that's unique and different. We've never had a general election in my lifetime here in the county. For the general, you've got a great, well-respected candidate running as a independent this time, and two very extreme fringe
And the
candidates.
first
so it's
female.
Going to be, and the first
Evan.
female. It's going to be close.
Since two have already said that race, I'll go to County Council District 2. Ed Emeteti's running. His campaign, he launched it in February of 2017, knocked on over 10,000 doors himself so far. With his volunteers, it's over 20,000. That's the best district for Republicans. The Republican got 40% in 2014, but Ed's running a much more aggressive race than that. So if there's a county council race that we're going to win, it's going to be that one.
So, Rich, there's a lot of speculation that Craig Rice may be vulnerable in Councilmanic District 2. Is there any truth to that?
I've heard that, but I don't think he is. I mean, the Republicans do have a good candidate. I mean, he's out there.
Who's working hard?
Definitely working hard, but I think Craig is a centrist Democrat who's connected with his voters and his constituents. He's out there in Clarksburg. He's out there at a lot of the meetings I've been at over the last several years. Craig's been all over that district and really out there working and meeting with people. So I think Craig's going to be fine. You know,
Susan, when term limits were passed, it wasn't expected that there would be a lot of unopposed candidates for the county council. But we have 3 candidates who are unopposed running for county council this time. Is that a surprise?
Well, that says something about the Republican Party. The Republican Party doesn't have anyone running. It is Tom Hucker,
Nancy Navarro,
and Friedson.
Yeah,
Andrew Friedson.
Andrew Friedson's got an opponent.
Does he?
Yeah.
Navarro, Hucker, and
Sid Katz.
Sid Katz. Yeah. I mean, the Democrats. We certainly did our part for excitement in the primary, and I don't think we can be lambasted because we didn't dig out Republicans for y'all.
So, Nicolee, looking at Montgomery County and the state, the fact of the matter is Republicans have put up many more candidates this time than they have in years past. What did you do to recruit those candidates to come out?
Well, I think it's best done at the local level and by great clubs. Montgomery County, we have so many wonderful state senate and delegate candidates running, and I just wish someday Montgomery County would vote for a 2-party system. I mean, we've got some great folks to consider on the ballot. So I would love to see one of them or 2 of them make it over the line.
Well, there's some discussion that maybe in in State Legislative District 15, that our former colleague might be able to break through, Lori Halverson, and break through as a delegate. What are you hearing?
She's got, I think, I like all the candidates running in that district, but I think she's got the best chance out of the Republicans.
She doesn't have very much money, though.
She doesn't have money, but you don't need money to door knock. You don't need money to go talk to people.
This is her 3rd race, isn't it? I mean, she ran for school board, and I think she ran for another race.
And she's
before.
been meeting and talking to a lot of groups that, for a long time, Republicans in Montgomery County weren't bothering to talk to. But people like her and Ed have been talking and reaching out to these groups that Republicans haven't really bothered with sometimes. In the past.
I will take a moment to pat ourselves on the back because 7 of our former colleagues from 21 this week are either an elected official or running in this election. Wow. So I think this is a great beginning for a lot of politicians.
What are you trying to tell us, Casey?
It's all about me, baby. It's all about me.
He's announcing on
So as
Wednesday.
we go to break, we're going to do this real quick. What's going to be? Are there any upsets in this election, Susan?
District 2 is the only one I could think of.
Yes, Nancy Florine's going to be the first woman county executive and the first independent we've elected.
That
and
will
there
be,
will be a
that will
two-party
be a
system. She'll represent everybody.
huge upset.
She's going to win.
Evan.
November 7th, we'll be asking the question, where is David Trone going to go buy an election next, because he's going to lose Tommy Hober.
And Nicolee, real fast.
I can't wait to see the Hogan numbers, and I'm very curious about the Ami Hober numbers as well.
Stay tuned for this short break. Our midterm election's all about Donald Trump. And what has the county council been up to while you were paying attention to the elections? Stay tuned. And welcome back. Many people thought when they voted for term limits 2 years ago that it might temper the more progressive impulse of the liberal county council. But even as the term winds down to days, not months, this term-limited county council continues to push an agenda. So while most of you voters were paying attention to the elections, a new county government, the old one has been very active. Susan, one of the most controversial bills of the past year was the county's minimum wage bill. Hans Reimer and Tom Hucker have proposed a change. What is it going to do to the minimum wage bill?
It's a technical change. It's not controversial. It just says so that it goes along with state law. Right now there are under 10 employees, 10 to 50 and over 50. And what it does, it says that if you have a full-time employee, whether it's a nanny or a housekeeper, that they fit into the under 10 employees in terms of when they have to be paid $15. Casual employees, like babysitters, don't count.
This is all part of state law already.
No, it has to do with Montgomery County's $15 an hour. And the less than 10 is way off in the distance, but it just counts people who have just one employee.
These guys should go back to being
nobody
part-time
really
council.
opposed it. It was no big deal.
That's because they all agree with everything. You know, they agree with one another. They pat themselves on the back all the time. Oh, look, all 9 of us. Look how smart and great we are. We're all liberal Democrats. Isn't this wonderful? Rich, there's another bill that would eliminate smoking in outdoor areas where food is being served. Doesn't this bill discriminate against the victims of legal drug addiction?
No, but they haven't all voted together, by the way. There's a lot of differences on a whole range of issues between members of this council. But getting to your question, as somebody, you asked the wrong guy, because I personally hate to have cigarette smoke around when I'm eating.
Amen.
I'm like the most anti-smoking guy. So on a personal level, I love the fact that they're going to. If it's an eating area, that's fine. I remember, though, a few years ago, Montgomery County getting lampooned around the country for an outdoor smoking ban that was much broader than I understand this one is. And as long as we don't get carried away with ourselves, I think there's some good to be said for keeping smoking out of restaurants.
It's just in those little areas outside that
as long as there's an area convenient they can go to.
So why don't we just push them into the back of the restaurant into the parking
We're
area.
thinking about their health as good Democrats.
Yeah, sure you are.
Well, it's also about the customer's experience, and a lot of customers like me don't want to have cigarette smoke when we're trying to taste our food.
And those customers
go
will make that
inside
be
and
known, and you won't need the government.
No, people said that when we had the no smoking in restaurants, and people are going to go to the district, and actually people going to restaurants in Montgomery County went up because they appreciated it.
That's because traffic got worse. Are you kidding me?
You are such a curmudgeon tonight, Casey.
I haven't heard the word nanny state yet.
Keep listening.
That's coming.
It's coming.
All right, our last segment. The unexpected election of Donald Trump in 2016 has some great upheavals imaginable in politics over the past 2 years. Nicolee, the Washington Post described the midterm elections as a forum on American identity. Hyperbole or not?
Always dramatic. So here's the deal. That statement comes down to congressional districts in swing states and key swing districts. Those are the congressional districts which are a referendum on Trump. Other than that, all politics is local. And I'm sorry, Maryland especially, maybe not so much Montgomery County and Prince George's, which are so impacted by the federal government because of not least of all the employment levels of federal employees here. But I really think Maryland will be a little bit of a different bird throughout most of our state.
Thanks, Nicolee. Susan, Howie Kurtz posted this headline: pundits assume Democrats will win the House. Does that sound familiar? What do you think, Susan? Are the polls going to be right this time?
Yeah. I'm confident the Democrats are going to win the House. And what's interesting, one of the things Jim Schalik said today was, as he goes around the poll he said that people have been energized in Montgomery County based on what's going on at the national level. That's what he took. In fact, they were so energized last night that the polls in Silver Spring did not close till 10:30 because people were in the line down the street around the corner. So they kept that poll open till 10:30, till the last one in line at 8 o'clock got to vote. And he really does believe it's here in Montgomery County, as Nicolee says, we're a little different than maybe Harford County.
Well, and Nicolee and all of us have alluded to the fact that this is a very important national election. So I'm going to go to each one of you, panelists, to briefly predict whether the houses of Congress will flip and what the next 2 years has in store. Evan.
So Republicans hold the House, we pick up seats in the Senate, and the next 2 years, liberals continue to kick, scream, whimper, and call everyone they don't like Nazis. It's the same thing. They'll just continue to do it.
Nothing changes.
No, just
Nicolee.
more temper tantrums.
So Republicans will pick up seats in the U.S. Senate. I think the House could be a few votes either way. It is too close to call. It really depends on the mood until Election Day.
Susan.
The House will go Democratic. The Senate, if we all pray enough, I know Rich and I are on our knees every night. And the next 2 years are going to be interesting because the administration is not going to be able to railroad. People will talk back. And the most important person in Congress starting next year is going to be Elijah Cummings.
Is he going to be Speaker?
No, he's going to be the head of the Oversight Committee.
Interesting. Rich.
Well, I think as much as I would like to see Democrats win both, I don't see that in the cards for the Senate, but I do see it in the House. I think the Democrats will win back control of the House, and we will have something we've been missing, which is constitutional oversight of the executive branch. And by the way, and one of those seats that the Republicans are not going to win is the 6th District. David Trone is a far better candidate. Some of the attacks that he's been subjected to by Ami Hober have been the most despicable I've ever seen, and I think she's losing big in that race. David Trone is a much better fit for that district, and he'll win easily.
Okay.
Well, here's what I think is going to be fascinating to see, because on election night, Susan and I are going to be doing election coverage. I want to be on the set again, as I was in 2014 when Larry Hogan was announced to win as governor of Maryland. The shock and awe that was
that's not going to be shock and awe.
The shock and awe from that night. Well, there may be shock and awe if the House doesn't flip. There will be.
The House.
I feel good
You're
about
pretty
the House.
confident Hillary would be president too. So.
No, this is totally different. And people are frustrated, and people are voting. And thank you, women in the Republican Party and independents. They're coming around.
There's some great women running.
There are great women running, and women are going to vote.
We can
So
speculate. We can speculate all we want. The proof will be in the pudding on next Tuesday. Stay tuned for parting shots when we come back from this short break. And welcome back. We at 21 this week want to send our thoughts and prayers to our friends, loved ones, and fellow citizens affected by the senseless killings in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and Jeffersontown, Kentucky. Evil exists in this world, but it's not something that should be tolerated in a civil society. Neither political party or cause is immune from evil. Evil exists because it always has. But evil can be contained and defeated if people of goodwill unite to combat that evil, instead of succumbing to its divisive allures. We owe that much to the people who have lost their lives in Pittsburgh and in Kentucky. Now, I know it's hard to pivot, to go from tragedy to politics, but that's what we do here. And now with parting shots, Susan Heltemes.
Donald Trump wants this election to be about immigration and has the most despicable ad I have ever seen running now. with the man from Mexico who was kicked out of the country under Bill Clinton and came back under George W. But somehow it's the Democrats' fault that he's in the country, and he said, I'm going to kill more cops. So despite the negativity of the president, the Democrats are focusing on health care. And I saw an uplifting President Obama today, who talks about light and happiness and health. And he talked about the fact that no Republican supported Obamacare, and now they're coming to defend it, which are lies. And it's fun to see when Democrats are put on the spot saying, I'm going to protect, and then they say, have voted against it. So health care and the Democrats are going to come through. We're going to take over the House. And if we pray enough, who knows, the Senate. Go Democrats.
You better pray very hard, Susan. Rich,
We've
your
got
your parting shot.
Well, we've talked about it a little bit, but there is something very positive and very exciting happening here in the county executive race in Montgomery County. Nancy Florine is trying to do something, I think, special, unique, that no one's ever done. And it's not just that she would be our first woman county executive. She's running a race that's inclusive, trying to bring everybody together behind a message that's about our future, about investing in our schools, about investing in transportation, and getting our economy growing again. And she's stepped into a race where, frankly, both parties nominated very fringe candidates who have no idea how to lead this county forward. And so I think watch that race carefully. I think Nancy's got an excellent chance to really pull people together. We've been out there. I've been helping her. We've been reaching out to independents, Republicans, getting a lot of support. Robin Ficker, the Republican, has run 20 times. Last time he ran countywide, I think he got about 9% of the vote. So a lot of Republicans are not wasting their vote on him. They're going for an independent candidate that gives us a real choice, and we'll listen to everyone here in this community. Because at the local level, this really isn't about partisanship. It's about getting the job done. Nancy's the one to do it. I hope all my fellow Democrats, independents, and Republicans out there will pull the lever for Nancy Florine and vote for the best candidate, not just party affiliation at the local level.
Thank you, Rich. Evan Young, your parting shot.
So this is a public service announcement to all single men before Election Day. If you're unsure yet how you're going to vote, just like to reference for you one of my favorite studies. It's from 2014, but some things don't change. The heart wants what it wants. It found that of millionaire women, 81% preferred conservative men to liberal men. And of that, 76% of millionaire Democratic women preferred conservative men to liberal men. Comes as no surprise to guys like me, but some might be surprised by those numbers. So guys, Tuesday, easy choice. Be a man, not a liberal. Vote Republican.
If you're a millionaire, you're looking better all the
Susan.
time.
And Nicolee, your parting shot.
Thank you, Casey. So I want to talk about two folks who just don't get much airtime between Hogan and all the local politics that we all focus on, and that is Dr. Tony Campbell, who is running for U.S. Senate here in Maryland, and Craig Wolf, who's running for Attorney General. Craig is working it so hard, trying to give Marylanders a chance for someone who actually wants to focus on being Attorney General instead of someone who thinks he's running for U.S. Senate. Would highly recommend you look into him. Dr. Tony Campbell, I have to tell you, personally, friend of mine for 20 years. My first thing ever in politics was helping him out as press secretary on his campaign for Baltimore City City Council president, and have really enjoyed working with him on school choice issues and improving education. So would love to see Tony have the chance to help work on those issues at the federal level. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Nicolee. Now, I'm glad we have a few extra seconds to talk, because this week there was a significant event that occurred here in Montgomery County, or in the state of Maryland, that affects Montgomery County. And that was the decision by the Board of Regents for the University of Maryland system not to fire DJ or Durkin as the football coach. What an awful decision, and I can't imagine that they really were thinking about the best interests of the university when they made this decision. And of course, you know, we've had greater embarrassment since then, with Wallace Lowe being going to step down and then firing the coach. I hope the next governor takes a hard look at what's going on at the university, which is a stellar university in the United States, and cleans house. Not only the president of the university, the football coach, the athletic department, but also the Board of Regents, and put people in there that aren't going to be a rubber stamp, but have the best interests of the students and the citizens of Maryland for that very important position. I'm pleased to announce, by the way, that if you want the best up-to-the-minute analysis and election results, you tune in right here to Channel 21 MCM for live political coverage beginning at 8 p.m. Tuesday. And for a real treat, my good friend Susan Heltemes and I are going to be providing the analysis between 10 and 11. And Susan, I'll bring Kleenex for you.
You're going to need them. Thank you.
I want to thank the panel who come here on a Friday evening to sacrifice their time. And of course, I want to thank the viewers who tune in each and every week to Montgomery County's hardest hitting political talk show. For 21 This Week, I'm Casey Aiken.